today, either virtually or in person. I will tell you that the ones that are virtual, you're missing out on a really good breakfast. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So next time you come, you're going to want to have some. So again, welcome to the Community Initiatives Coordinating Committee. And we will now conduct a roll call to determine our quorum. So please share if you are here and share your organization and after Amy calls your name.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Councilmember Beckles is just coming in. She is here. Councilmember Bongiovanni, I know you're online.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Conchas. Not quite yet. Councilmember Conde online.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Dorsey. No. Vice Mayor Ellis online. Vice Mayor Ellis, would you like to unmute? She was here. Vice Mayor Garland.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Goodman.
Present.
Thank you. Councilmember Learman. Not yet. Councilmember McMahon. No. Councilmember Spilsbury is not attending today. Councilmember Hodge Washington. Thank you. Supervisor Stewart, not here. President Patea, online.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Taniqua Broughton. Not here. Jean Diadamo.
I'm here.
Welcome, Jean.
Thank you.
Kathy Denelfi. She is here. Yes. Sliding into home base. She is here before roll call. Jenna Pennis.
Here.
Thank you. Megan Pocock. Online.
Here.
Thank you. Reverend Katie Sexton.
Here.
Online. Thank you. And Deb Sydenham, not here. Madam Chair, we have quorum.
All right, wonderful. With the quorum present, the Community Initiatives Coordinating Committee is now called to order. The committee's public comment process allows members of the public to comment on items on today's agenda or on items that fall under CICC's jurisdiction. If you are participating in person and would like to comment at today's meeting, please fill out a white request to speak card by the door and give it to a MAG staff member. And if you are participating virtually, please add your comments and questions in the Q&A in the webinar, and the staff will share your feedback with us. Just for the folks here, if you're parked in the garage, parking validators are available by the door. And if you purchased a transit ticket to come to the meeting, please see staff for a ticket. Hearing assisted devices are available from MAG staff. And right now, then, if I can ask everybody if we could take a moment and stand for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance. Be seated in your head. All right, the next item is a call to the audience. And this is the opportunity for the public to comment. Amy, do we have any comments or any public members? Okay. All right, so we'll go ahead and move on to our next agenda item. So this is for information only. Items 4A through 4C are for information only. Does any member of the committee have any questions or request a presentation on any of these items? Okay, and hearing none, the next item on the agenda is item number 5, and it is approval of the consent agenda. So do I have a motion to approve items 4A through 4C? Is that right?
Madam Chair, so move.
Councilmember Conde, I second.
Okay, so all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All same sign. Okay, is it okay? Keep going. Okay. All right, so that's 5A, 5 through 5B. You corrected that. Okay. All right. All right. So, and do we need to open the view to be able to check for ayes? Take a voice vote. You're watching it. Okay, so you got those. All right. All right. All right. Thank you very much. All right. So our next item is for item number 6, and it's Catherine Alonso with Javelina will give us a presentation on the community conversation toolkit that was created through Pathways for Home. So thank you so much for being here.
There you go. Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I am here today to share an update on our work through Home is Where It All Starts and to share a couple of different toolkits that have been developed. So as a reminder for anybody who might not have thought about the Home is Where It All Starts campaign for a while, the reason that it exists is to create a future where every Arizonan has a place to be at home, empowering them to live stable and purposeful lives. And the substance of the campaign is about inspiring Arizonans to be champions for communities where everyone has a home that meets their needs. This campaign was really developed in response to the housing challenges in our community and is organized around three main objectives. We start with the idea around transforming the narrative. We know that the language that exists around housing that is affordable can be a barrier to developing the programs and the housing that we in fact need. And so the campaign is really about changing the conversation and how we talk about affordable housing in order to create a network of supporters for a vision of our community where everybody has a place to call home. And really, the bottom line is about making more housing options a reality. And we know that to be able to do that, we really do need to be shifting some of the language. And so the people that we're seeking to reach with the campaign include individuals and organizations engaged in housing and related fields, such as health, education, and infrastructure, elected leaders and decision makers, community leaders, developers, and HOA members and other community members. Really, we've been seeking to engage the organizations and individuals who are around and involved in decisions around housing in our communities. And to that end, we have developed two toolkits, both of which I'm excited to share with you today. So the first is the Change the Narrative Toolkit. And this one is really designed for organizations that are working in housing or related fields. And it is a set of materials that is designed for organizations to be able to use really, really easily around how we talk about housing and changing the language. And so it includes a bunch of different things. It includes an introduction, letter, sample web copy, sample emails, email best practices, sample social posts and best practices, and then digital flyers and digital ads. And it really is designed to be very much a copy and paste. This is a set of materials that talks about housing in a very particular way, in a way that makes it more accessible, more attainable, and less otherizing. The intro letter to the toolkit explains the thinking behind the language used and includes the call to action to really take an active role in developing the kind of housing that meets everybody's needs that we need in our community. And then there is a specific explainer of the language to use. And so what I would say is the fundamental assumption of the campaign is we know that this phrasing, affordable housing, is a barrier more than it is a creation of opportunity and an opener of doors. And so we're looking for ways that we can describe affordable housing without using the phrase affordable housing, which isn't necessarily an easy thing to do. But we know that when we talk about affordable rents and mortgages, it is far more relatable concept, and where affordable housing can be something that is associated with a particular type of housing or a particular type of community or a particular type of person, affordable rents and mortgages is something that is far more universally relatable. And while it describes the same thing, conjures up very different messaging. And then home that meets our needs and homes within reach are alternatives of saying the same thing. And so this is the language that we're encouraging organizations to utilize in their materials. And the sample web copy, the mass emails, the social posts all utilize that language and are really designed to be copy and paste materials that organizations can use in their own communications and then also seek to emulate and repeat as time goes on. And then the sample digital ads and the digital flyer are designed to do the same thing. So this toolkit is really designed for organizations in the space to be able to utilize this language in an easy and accessible way. The toolkit can be downloaded from homeiswhereitallstarts.org. Are there any questions on that toolkit before I get to the community conversation toolkit, which is slightly different?
I just have one question. So
Yeah.
how was the language developed that is best the narrative to best words to be able to use to move this forward?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we initially did some brainstorming, we faced some challenges with coming up with an alternative to a 2-word phrase like affordable housing that is so well used and described and very short. And so we did some brainstorming, and what we didn't want to do is come up with a different phrase that would just replace affordable housing and take on the same meaning and some of the same heaviness that it has. And so there was a lot of brainstorming developed, and then we did some focus group testing, and we did a lot of pressure testing and discussion with organizations working with MAG to test them out. And then also we have been testing them over time to see how effective they are.
Councilmember Hodge Washington.
Thank you. My question was, did the slide before say that the toolkit is coming soon, or is it?
That's outdated language. It is there. Yeah.
And then my second question is, are we doing any type of,
Councilmember, could you turn your microphone on?
Thank you. So my question was, thank you for clarifying that the toolkit is already available, because I did actually look at it yesterday in anticipation for today's meeting. I was curious, are we doing any level of metrics tracking to determine like the effectiveness of the campaign, the reach of the campaign?
Yeah.
Madam Chair and Councilmember Hodge Washington, members of the committee. Yes, we're evaluating the success of the campaign in a couple different ways. One, we had a strategic partnership with Cox Communications, and they tracked a number of different metrics for us. And particularly in that first year of the campaign, looking at how many people were able to reach, how long they stayed on the page, if they were then referring other people to that page. And actually the following presentation after this one is with the Morrison Institute for Public Policy from Arizona State University. They're doing some public polling around people's attitudes about housing. And they have some really great results from that polling that demonstrates the effectiveness of the language that we're using. And they'll be conducting another poll. So that's another opportunity to be able to adjust our messaging here as well.
Okay, so thank you. That helps me understand kind of what we've done before. I'm just
Yeah.
curious to see if we're going to be doing a similar analogy after the fact to see if we're seeing an actual change in attitudes towards the phraseology. Was my
Absolutely, yes. And so that second poll will be coming out soon, and they'll be able to provide an update on that. But no, great question though.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have any online questions?
Yes, Madam Chair. Vice Mayor Ellis here. At the last League of City meeting that we had, there was an opportunity for us to be discussing housing. And my concern at that time was we had a couple of panelists who were supposed to be in the community that this toolkit should be given to, who were actually at that time telling us they had a solution for this crisis that we are in right now. As I was looking through the toolkit and realizing that there is a fear among them as developers that we don't have a solution. So how do we convey through this toolkit to them that this type of narrative is not merited and it should not be what the conversation should be about? Is this toolkit will help us to remove the fear effect of the developers being out there telling elected officials and others that they don't have a solution, but the crisis is so great and it's beyond every repair right now?
Vice Mayor Ellis, Madam Chair, and members of the committee, thank you for that question. And that is one that we hear as well. And of course, it's always a matter of perspective. Some people will say, oh, it's a crisis, and throw up their hands, and then that's it. That's the end of their conversation. That's not the end of our conversation. That's really just the beginning. And that's really the point of this toolkit. So we really encourage everyone to use this toolkit. Also, the next toolkit that we've been developing in partnership with Catherine and Hevelina very specifically helps local governments and Native nations have those hard conversations with residents. So it gives you the tools that you need in order to have a more constructive conversation, particularly when that conversation is around, for example, if you have a vote coming up to council and you need to build support among the community members, you can use this next toolkit in that regard as well. The first one is more general. It's about how to help all of us have more constructive conversations about housing. This next one is very targeted specifically for local governments and Native nations.
Perfect. I think that will really fill the gap for us to have this type of narrative that we ourselves can use. And at the time, I defeated it because I don't think we should be leading with fear. But thank you for having thinking in putting this together, Miss Amy, with the team, for us to be able to give it to elected officials and help them in that space to make the right decision for their communities.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions online? No, I will say that, we wanted to be an action-oriented committee. We talked about how excited we were about being on this committee, that we don't want to be sitting in these chairs and just keeping them warm for somebody else for the next meeting. We wanted to do something. This is going to allow us to not only do something, but to have the words to help make change possible so people can see the problems that we have in a different way and to be able to solve this issue. So thank you so much.
Thank you. So moving into the community conversation toolkit. So as Amy said, this toolkit is really designed to be able to guide staff to have constructive conversations about intentional language for use in housing. So it is designed to be helpful when specific development projects are proposed in communities, and also helpful for neighborhood conversations around housing priorities. So if I go to the next, oh, there you go, perfect.
I think we can play it from the link. Actually, oh, you did.
You just said that. Okay, great. This is a video included in the toolkit.
When we say affordable housing, what comes to mind? For many, it brings up assumptions about what kind of housing it is and who it's for. But in reality, homes with affordable rents and mortgages are something we all care about. A place where the rent or mortgage doesn't keep you up at night. A home that gives you peace of mind. A home that meets your needs. That's what we mean. Words matter. They shape how we think and how we act. By changing how we talk about housing, we open the door to real conversations and real solutions. Thank you for being here. Let's talk about how we can achieve affordable rents and mortgages for everyone in our community.
A succinct explanation really of what the campaign is and why language matters so much, and is included in the toolkit, and is wonderful sort of primer to send to anybody who might be unfamiliar with the campaign or anybody that you're navigating a conversation with. It's short and really is designed to summarize and pique interest. And then other materials in the toolkit include a slide deck, as well as a sample meeting agenda and facilitation cards. So it really does give you everything that you would need to be able to have a constructive, substantive conversation with those interested in housing and in solving problems for their communities. Are there any other questions about this toolkit and how this might be used?
Any questions? I have a comment. Do we have any questions online? This is great for us to know, but I don't want us to be a silo. So what can we do to make sure that the cities and organizations that are here are not the only ones that have that information? How can we make sure that we get this to all the other cities and towns and organizations? What can we do?
Chair and members of the council, I was just writing down notes for myself to do after this meeting. So a few of the ideas that I had. So in addition to sending the link out to the committee members, and we're working right now to get all this material available on the Home is Where It All Starts website. Once it's available on the website, because we want you to have full access to all of the materials very easily, we can send out that link to the website so that you can help to promote it. I'll also be following up with our communication director to see if we can share this through social media. We'd encourage your agencies to do so as well, your communities. And then also we'd want to send it out to the intergovernmental staff to see if they can help navigate getting all of that done in their own communities too. But beyond that, Catherine, I don't know if you have ideas that you could share too?
Yeah, I think the most powerful way to share material like this is always through personal experience and referral. And so not only sharing your experiences of using the toolkits, but inviting people to share their feedback of their experience using the toolkits, and then being able to share those examples, especially I think within your communities. You're having conversations about housing often, and they're not necessarily always people are feeling more pressure than they are hope. And so anytime that you can say, you know, here is something that works and that helps and that can really engage people can feel very relieving. And so I would think that is an incredibly powerful way to be able to get the word out. And then the other thing is repetition. Not feeling like once you've shared it once you all know, like everybody's so busy and there's so much to keep in your head. And so being able to repeatedly say, don't forget about the toolkit, don't forget about the toolkit, to the when you get to the point when you feel like you're sick of talking about the Home is Where It All Starts toolkit, is when other people will just start to remember that it is an asset that exists for them. And so those two, the repetition and then the sharing experiences with it, I think are very powerful ways to get it out.
And are you available to attend either virtually or in person for council meetings, organization meetings, to come and talk a little bit more in depth about the toolkit?
Yeah, absolutely. And the campaign as a whole, I think it's a very important story to tell, and one that I really enjoy sharing.
Okay. All right. So we thank you so much for the presentation. I'm really excited about diving into that. All right. So if there are no other comments or discussions, then I would like to have a motion to approve the strategies that promote the use of the Community Conversation Toolkit across our region. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
All right. First, and I didn't see who did second online.
I will second.
Okay.
Vice Mayor Ellis second.
Is there any other discussion from here, the public? No other discussions? All right. We will take a voice vote of everyone in the room and those online who have turned on their cameras. Those online who do not want to or cannot turn on their cameras will have the opportunity to participate in a roll call vote after the voice vote. For those participating in the voice vote, please keep your cameras on until the vote is final. So those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. All right, the motion carries. Do we need to have nothing turned on? All right, the motion carries. Thank you so much, everyone. So we will now move on to item number 7. We have Allison and Christy from the Arizona State University's Morrison Institute for Public Policy, and we'll provide a presentation on public polling around housing attitudes. I'm really excited about this. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. I'm Allison Cook Davis. I'm the research director at Morrison Institute for Public Policy and the co-director of the Arizona Research Center for Housing and Economic Solutions. That's a lot.
I'm Christy Eustace. I'm the assistant research director at Morrison Institute.
So today we're really excited to be here to share our findings from our first community poll for our project, Getting to Yes on Affordable Housing Policy. With the time we have here, we'll just be kind of like doing a quick overview of the findings, but we will have a full research report that will include details for this. So, what inspired us to do this research? I think, first of all, I think it's worth noting that in 2023, when the Arches Center was created, we already saw an opportunity to collaborate with community partners like MAG and Home is Where It All Starts. Home Matters, that are doing the Home is Where It All Starts campaign. And so we saw this as an opportunity early on to potentially lend some research assistance and with our partners, they had already sort of recognized that there was this challenge around having dialogue around housing, and they created the Home is Where It All Starts campaign, which Catherine just kindly reviewed the whole campaign and some of the goals around that. And so, and with that toolkit with the language was going to be really, really important. And so we saw an opportunity to sort of test this language and sort of evaluate and sort of help to support what they're doing. And so we're doing this sort of simultaneously, of course. But why it's necessary is oftentimes when we hear the words affordable housing, they oftentimes evoke a certain type of housing or a certain type of people in a certain type of neighborhood. And trying to sort of break down some of those stereotypes is trying to understand sort of what people are sort of thinking and how that impacts their attitudes and their willingness to support policy initiatives. So, but as Catherine said, in reality, the concept of like a home with rents and mortgages that we can afford is something that we can all relate to. And it's not just one type of housing or one type of community, et cetera. And so the research is really looking at sort of, can we sort of reframe the way we talk about affordable housing to promote healthy dialogue and collaborative solutions. So first, I'm just going to provide a brief study overview. We collaborated with our community partners to sort of develop our poll or survey. And the survey was administered to registered voters in Maricopa County. We used a professional polling company who helped us sort of get a representative sample of Maricopa County voters. And it also required that they were likely to vote in the next election. So we wanted not only vote like registered voters, but also people who are likely to vote. And the data was gathered from 850 participants. At the beginning of the survey, participants were asked a series of kind of Likert type questions about their current living situation, their perceptions of the housing market in Maricopa County, et cetera. And then participants were randomly assigned to a survey path across like following two sections of the survey. So first we had, they were randomly assigned to receive either a typical first-time home buyer or typical renter condition, where they were asked to provide demographic and background information for a person that they imagined sort of fit into this respective category. After this, participants were randomly assigned to one of three language conditions. And so they either were asked about affordable housing, affordable rents and mortgages, or housing within reach. And using this language, they were assigned that participants were asked questions about their attitudes toward housing, as well as some civic actions that they would be willing to support. So you'll see some examples in our next slide. But lastly, the survey also included basic demographic information from participants, and all of the data was weighted to match registered voters in Maricopa County on age, race, sex, income, and education. So these are some examples, handful of examples of the survey questions where X is the language option. So they, again, they received affordable housing, affordable rents and mortgages, or housing within reach in that X piece. So now I'm going to just talk really quickly about our sort of three key takeaways, and then we'll go into a little bit more detail what we found within the study. So here, what we found was that Maricopa residents are feeling the housing crisis and that most do not expect it to improve soon. We also found that how we talk about housing policy matters and that the language may need to be tailored for specific subgroups. And finally, likely voters' perceptions of the socioeconomics of first-time homebuyers and renters are not necessarily aligned with the sort of current cost reality. So now I'm going to hand it over to Christy, and she's going to talk about our first two takeaway.
Awesome. Thanks, Allison. Can everybody hear me? I'm usually pretty loud. Okay. So I'll start with finding one, which is that Maricopa County residents are feeling the impacts of the housing market, and most are not optimistic about housing affordability in the future. So in our poll, on average, respondents did agree that Maricopa County is experiencing a housing crisis. It was almost a 5 on a 6-point scale. And as you can see here, 75% have at least some concern about the amount that they pay for their housing each month, with nearly a third being either fairly or very concerned. As far as future outlook, almost 90% expect housing to either stay the same or be more expensive in the future. Okay, so finding 2. How we talk about housing policy matters, and it may need to be tailored for specific subgroups to be most effective. What led us to this finding? So these 3 things, which again, I have slides for, so we'll go into more detail. But generally, we found that the language option housing within reach resulted in lower means or lower agreement across attitude, support, and civic engagement or action. We also found 2 statistically significant findings, which I'll talk more about. And then upon some post hoc exploration of means, we found some nuances that really give us the evidence about maybe tailoring messaging for certain subgroups. Okay, you're not supposed to be able to like read all the items on this slide. I pinky promise. This is just for a visual. So this is a snapshot of all of the outcomes across all of the language groups. So our orange, I made it as bright as I could, is our housing within reach group. Our brown is the affordable rents and mortgages, and green, which is on the top, is affordable housing. The whole point of this slide is just to show you the general trend that housing within reach, again, had lower means across all of these outcomes with the exception of 2. The margins of error are the little bars that are on the end there. I just wanted to acknowledge, we know that there are some overlapping margins of error here, but still it's pretty obvious that the trend shows that the averages were lower compared to the other language groups for housing within reach. Doesn't mean that's like a bad term that we shouldn't use. It just means like there's a time and place maybe. Okay, so now we're going to get into the statistically significant findings. So if there are people out there that are not stats lovers like myself, the very like simple way you can think about statistical significance, it's like how confident we can be that our results are not just due to chance or error. And so in this study, we set an alpha value of p-value of 0.05, which really means if we replicated this study 100 times, we could be confident that 95 times we would get the same results. So just to give you an idea, so these 2 findings particularly reach statistical significance. So first, we saw that affordable rents and mortgages perform significantly better than both affordable housing and housing within reach when asked specifically about support for the use of accessory dwelling units in their HOA. And again, these are just the means on a 6-point scale across the different language options. This one threw us for a loop a little bit, but interestingly, we actually found that affordable housing had significantly higher agreement when asking about the construction of multifamily apartments in their neighborhood, more so than housing within reach. We do have a couple of reasons why we think that might be so, but that can maybe be for a discussion. The other thing to note here is that affordable rents and mortgages came really close to statistical significance compared to housing within reach. So almost significantly higher. So together, these findings show that there is some evidence, right, that the way that we talk about housing matters and what people might support as far as policy action. So then we got even more curious and we wanted to know, like, are there differences among different subgroups? Some of the things we collected information on were like if you were a homeowner or a renter, individuals who were neither or who were experiencing homelessness are not included in this section of the analysis. But we wanted to look at like, what does this look like across different groups? And so we looked at homeowner status, which was homeowner versus renter, cost burden status. So if you pay 30% or more of your monthly income on housing, versus not being cost burdened, and then different age groups. So we had 18 to 34, 35 to 54, and then 55 plus. Not on this slide, I just wanted to note that as far as policy support across the board, regardless of language option or subgroup, support for first-time homebuyers was like rose to the top every time. There were a couple others that were pretty high up there. I think it was like using public funds for low-income families or for people experiencing homelessness, but first-time homebuyers really rose to the top. But when we went into the data, we found some further nuance. Actually, sorry, I'm gonna leave it here for a second. So, for example, what we found is that averages in the disagreement half of the scale, so the lower half of the scale, were only evident among homeowners, those who were not cost burdened, and those who were 55 and older. That is in contrast to our cost burdened participants, our renters, and our younger age groups. We were curious why this might be. So we looked at cost burden by age group, and we noticed that 55 plus respondents reported the lowest percentages of cost burden and the highest percentages among those who are not cost burdened. Could have said that an easier way. Severe cost burden was also much less prevalent among our older adults. And so again, it just kind of gives you a snapshot into maybe why there's different perceptions because people are having different experiences. Oh, percentages don't equal 100 because there was a not sure option for anybody that's eyeing me out there. I would be. So next we looked at monthly housing cost, concern with monthly housing costs by age group. 41% of our 55 plus respondents reported no concern with the amount they pay each month for housing. This is a percentage substantially higher than our other two groups at 11% and 15%. In contrast, only 17% of the older Arizonans reported their housing costs are a fairly or very big concern. Again, these percentages were 43 and 40% for our younger age groups. So really what I'm saying is that it just might be that our 55 plus community in Maricopa County are a little bit buffered from the impacts of what the current housing market looks like for our younger Arizonans or maybe our Arizonans who are cost burdened. Ultimately, we need additional research to really drill down on this a little bit more. Our poll 2 goes out next week where we're hoping to get a little more detail and nuance to these findings as well. But to be able to have effective messaging for community buy-in, we might need to tailor the way that we are talking about housing because people's experiences really differ. Okay, and I'll pass it back to Allison for the last finding.
All right, so finding 3, the results show that respondents' perceptions of first-time buyers' household income was misaligned with the amount needed to purchase a home in the county. This is also true of respondents' perceptions of what typical renters need to lease a home or apartment in our current market. Over half of the respondents, it's all good, reported that a typical first-time home buyer would have a household income between $50,000 and $100,000 per year. And for renters, it was 49% of respondents perceived the typical renter making between $25,000 and $50,000, followed by 31% who selected $50,000 to $75,000. Although state level data on first-time home buyers is limited, the median income for owner-occupied homes for 2023 was over $104,000, and renter-occupied homes, it was just over $60,000. So respondents accurately perceived that homeowners have a higher typical median income than renters. At the same time, many respondents underestimated the income needed to purchase a home for a first-time home buyer. In fact, using a mortgage calculator, households making under $100,000 per year would be cost burdened if they were to purchase a typical median priced home in Maricopa County. The reality for renters is they must earn $68,000 annually to afford a 2-bedroom apartment in Arizona and almost $57,000 to afford a 1-bedroom. They must also be able to save tens of thousands of dollars for a down payment to buy a home. So overall, what these findings really show is a sort of misalignment between the perceived income of both first-time homebuyers and renters, and those economic realities are not quite matching up. So housing challenges produce widespread sort of impact on communities. and affect community health and education and the economy. Ensuring that each Maricopa County resident has a place to call home will require sort of productive and meaningful dialogue about how we can support housing that meets the needs of both current and future residents. So this dialogue is going to require some common language and promote this dialogue rather than defensiveness. Support for first-time homebuyers is almost universally agreed upon as a policy option, yet findings highlight the lack of understanding of how much someone might need to earn in order to buy a home. And also sustain themselves financially while renting and potentially trying to save for a home. Interestingly, we saw disagreement with some policy actions for older Arizonans, those who were not cost burdened, and those who were already homeowners. And this may partly be because their daily housing situation just differs from their counterparts, and the current reality of the housing market is just not fully understood. For over a decade, housing values have outpaced median incomes in Arizona. And since 2010, home prices have risen 91% as of 2024 and 36% as of 2023 for rents. So that's a lot of change. And so this may be that overall voters in Maricopa County might be more willing and open to support housing policy if they have a more accurate understanding of the current housing market and how these trends over the past decade plus have changed and have led to a very different situation for home buyers and renters than when they potentially were first-time home buyers. This effort, coupled with the housing language used sort of tailored to these subpopulations, I think presents an opportunity for future media campaigns and policy advocates. So.
And it was so great that Catherine reviewed it. If you'd like to go to the toolkit, you'll be able to get it right through this QR code. But yeah, we're happy to take any questions.
All right. Do we have any comments or questions from here or online? Councilmember Hodge Washington.
Thank you. I guess my comment is more so finding number 3, that the fact that our residents, both renters and homeowners, are so disconnected with the true price of what it takes to attain home ownership, and to see that many times that their numbers are lower than what it actually needs to be, and the fact that they feel like I'm almost questioning how much do we want to educate them about the true cost of what it takes, because I feel like I'm also a little concerned that they may become even more have a negative perception of our housing crisis. So I just thought that was eye-opening. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I think you're right. It probably depends on how it's done, right? So a lot of it is, it's sort of like our own perspectives and our own sort of positionality and sort of being able to see how things are sort of impacted. And if you are, a homeowner that is not sort of in the sort of housing space, sort of thinking about it or whatever, you might not be thinking like, could I afford the house that I'm in right now with the salary that I make? But sometimes it helps to sort of connect it to other things. So the sort of could my kids that are just graduating from college afford to buy a house, or how much am I having to help out, that type of thing? Because I think that part of it is the sort of what we sort of remember as sort of adults who own homes or whatever is a little different than the sort of just the current on the ground reality. And if you don't have to be in that reality, it's something that is maybe just not top of mind.
And I think that ties back into messaging when we talk
Sure.
to other residents and community members. They are taking it off of what it took for them to own their home,
Exactly.
and they're not accounting for the realities of the current world. So I did like that part of information. So thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate your comment. I just wanted to add, some of my background is in social norm theory and research, and some of what we were thinking and some of what the research shows is that when there is kind of a misperception about people's actions and behaviors in reality, if you correct that misperception, it can help people change their behaviors. But I really appreciate your point, because it is not even done in the housing space. It's been done as harm reduction, that sort of thing. But I think we might want to be really careful when we are talking about housing, as this is a new space. And to your point, there might be things that raise alarms versus help kind of inform or correct that misperception. So I appreciate your comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
I completely agree. That was a great comment. And we do think about that. I do have a fellow council member. We were just in a large group meeting and we were talking about housing and he said if he were to look at things the way they are right now, he wouldn't be able to afford the house that he has.
Mhm.
That's kind of scary. It's scary to all of us. And I have 4 kids and I'd like to see them all be homeowners, but that reality right now is very different from before. So thank you so much. Do we have any other comments or questions?
Yes, Madam Chair,
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Ellis. Miss Amy, will we receive all this presentation? So specifically, I think every single one of us here, as council members and mayors and vice mayors, we do have a housing component in our cities. This will be a great tool. I love graphs and I love statistics, and those numbers, they tell the truth. They are not lying. So we need to make sure that we get that package into the hands of our community services department. Every one of our managers, city managers needs to have this packet when they're talking with their deputy managers that are over housing. How do we start rethinking this thing in order for us to see that we are not building only for those who've already in the queue? Because we have about 4,000 people in our city in line for housing right now. We are not even building for them anymore. We are building for this group of people that you have just presented to us at this moment that are thinking, that are not even thinking about buying yet, but buying will be part of their future. And if we are not thinking so much ahead of time, we will find ourselves being caught with our pants down. So thank you. Ms. Amy, can you make sure that we get these packages to disseminate it to our leadership in our own cities and other cities also?
Vice Mayor Ellis, yes, I would be happy to. And also just as a point of reference, all of the presentations are loaded onto the MAG website. So we can send out that link, but if you're looking for it before we send it out, if you go to the azmag.gov committees, this committee, and the meetings, and it's all posted right there. So thank you. Yes, Councilmember Beckles.
Yes, I just wanted to say, we just had an almost 2-hour session on zoning changes to address this issue in Goodyear. In addition to, we do have affordable housing, if that's what you want to call it, apartments. But for the housing side, we just had a session. So this is very timely for me. So I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that may have been part of, we have a home TA program. It's Housing Opportunities and Mentorship and Education Technical Assistance Program that's funded with a grant from the Chase Foundation. And we're working with 7 communities, including Goodyear, to be able to assist them in whatever priorities they have around building and preserving more affordable housing. So I'm really excited about that. The final report for that project will be done by the end of this calendar year. So we'd be happy to bring that to you at your next meeting in February. That if that's of interest, we can also certainly share it with you before that meeting. So thank you.
I think that would be great information to have. And thank you, Councilmember, for talking about that, because it also, once we get that presentation, I'd like to hear more from the Councilmember about what is going on in Goodyear and how you're doing that. I would just say, I one question, the polls, the next poll that you're going to be doing, it's not with the same group, right? You're going to have another random group?
It will be, yes, it will be another random group. It is the same sort of sampling frame. So it will also be Maricopa County registered voters who are likely to vote in the next election.
Okay, great. I'm still trying to process everything that I just saw, even though I saw the slides and I looked at them before the meeting, it's still just a lot to process. But thank you so much. And I hope you can come back. We have one more question. Yes.
My question is, this data was presented more so for Maricopa County. And we know within Maricopa County, the cities have different populations. Is there any way to see that? Is it any way for the data to be shared with us where it could be broken down by, for example, by city, to see if, for example, in one city, this message works, this language use works better versus in another city, this language would work better?
I actually don't know the answer to that question. Probably the answer is no, because it wasn't sampled that way, like in terms of being able to sort of get evenly sampled across all the different cities. And I don't know, we might have gotten zip code, but I don't think we get city.
Yeah, I would love to be able to do that, by the way.
Yeah,
That would be
amazing.
like
We probably need a
wonderful.
lot more data.
The way I understand it is because they have the weights set for Maricopa County as a whole, we would have to create specific weights for each city to be able to do that analysis, which unfortunately isn't in our scope of work. But we could ask about city, and we do ask about zip code. So there are some.
Yeah, I would be
potential
just interested to hear, because for example, in my community, in my district that I represent in the entire city, I have such varying opinions about what some places I call it attainable housing because I know affordable housing is not necessarily the language that works. So I was just curious if we had any data to show that kind of correlates to kind of what I've been doing already, that to help strengthen us in moving the needle, because housing continues to be one of our most important needs as a municipality, as a region, and just how do we effectively message that? I see a lot in my community, like social media. There's a negative connotation when we talk about putting in affordable housing. It's these people are coming into our neighborhoods. So it'd be helpful to kind of see what works best in certain neighborhoods. So that's the reason for my question. Thank you.
Thank you for that question.
All right. Well, if we have no other question or comments, thank you so much.
I have one more real quick. I'm sorry. I don't know how to use the hand raising thing on Zoom yet. Don't know why I don't know that by yet. I like the language that we're using here, but I think when it comes down to it, we have to somehow legislatively find a way to limit the amount of homes that private equity can purchase. Because that is the whole reason why our housing market is upside down right now. I know that Berkshire Hathaway just invested $1 billion into Lennar Homes, so Lennar Homes can now build neighborhoods, and rather than selling them to individuals, they sell them to private equity firms to lease out like they were apartments. So housing has become the next apartment complexes. And I think that somewhere we should have some pressure on the legislature to take a look at that issue, at how many homes are being owned by private equity as opposed to the average person.
Very good point. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. No other. Wow, he's right. That's a good question. All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And we're going to go ahead and move on then to item number 8. And Annie St. Peter will provide a presentation on the fiscal year 2026 call for projects.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Our scoping team met. We did provide an update in terms of who's serving on that scoping team on your information only agenda today. I'm very thankful to them. We're also working very closely with Jim King, who's an associate that's been working with MAG for a number of years. So just as a refresher on this, there we go. If we can actually go to the next slide, please, and then the next slide. Okay. Just a note that's a little bit of an aside for this conversation. The academic applications are open, so we do hope that you will help to promote those, encourage folks to apply. That would be fantastic. We would love to have your assistance with that. And then on the scoping team, we'll be helping to evaluate those applications. And then we are hoping to schedule another meeting with you. That's kind of an in-between meeting. It'll be virtual, it'll be really short. But just if we can schedule a meeting kind of early to mid-December with you. I believe we have a poll out about that. If you haven't yet responded to that poll, please do. We want to make sure that we have quorum. We don't want to waste anybody's time. But it'll just be really, really important to be able to get your vote on that, so then that new academic leader can be seated with the committee at our next meeting in February. So that is coming up really soon. So the call for projects. This is included in your operational plan that was approved by Regional Council earlier this year. It's also part of the charter that you acted on at your first meeting in September. So we're really excited about this. This is the first time that we've ever done a call for projects in this space. And because it's brand new, I think there's a lot to learn from how we undertake this and what the outcomes are. And it's just a lot to really be excited about, because we do really want to honor your commitment to taking action. And this call for projects is one way that we can do that. And so we've talked a little bit about those call for projects. So just as a refresher, anybody from the community can propose a project. The requirement, though, is that they need somebody on this committee to be their sponsor. It doesn't mean that you need to lead it or necessarily, take significant action with a project. It just means that you support it. It means that you support it and then you say, yes, this aligns with the work that we're trying to do as a committee. So it keeps the projects kind of it keeps the projects aligned with the priorities of this committee, which is really important, because anybody can propose it, but they need to have your support. And so pending your action today, we would be opening up that call for projects. And we have an application that's ready to go. Those applications will be online. We'll be asking folks things like, what are the outcomes that you want to achieve? How are you going to evaluate the success of this project? What funding or resources you already have committed to this? They don't have to have all of the funding. We can certainly help with the fundraising, but that's part of the evaluation. If there's a project that's poised and ready to go and all they need is kind of the support of this committee and a little bit of a higher profile than what they might have on their own, maybe that's where we jump in. And so with these projects, when we're coming back in February to take a look at those, one of the things that we'll want to consider is this work that we can take on as a committee directly? Does this align with what we can do? Does this fit within our circles of influence? And or is this something that maybe ASU could take and really run with? Or is there another partner who already is working on this and maybe they would be better positioned to move this forward? And then are there projects that might be great ideas, it's maybe just not the right time? And so we'll want to take a look at how well do these projects align with the mission of this committee. And the mission is to improve people's lives and strengthen communities. How well does it align with that? Is it regional in nature? If there are projects that are being proposed, like say, for example, in one community or in a subset of communities, is it possible to scale this up regionally? So do we look at this as a pilot project and then we test it, we test drive this idea, and then we help to scale it up? So all those criteria would be taken into account. Those criteria are mentioned in your operational plan and in the packets for the projects then. And so then starting this month, we would open up that call that would close on January 6th. January 6th is when the scoping team would meet. They would take the first cut at reviewing those applications. I'd like to thank Allison. She actually serves on that scoping team. So thank you. We have a great slate of people who represent some different partners and a number of different communities, and that is geographically balanced as well. And so there may be interviews or just an opportunity to get more information, like, well, you said this, do you mean that? You know, so being able to use some due diligence around the evaluation of those projects, and then bringing that then to you in February for your action. And would you recommend these for approval? And if you do, then we would move it on to Management Committee and Regional Council. Regional Council has a final vote, because any projects that we're proposing that are new would be added to the agency's work plan. And so it'd be added to our work plan. Any funding that we're able to secure for that project would be added to our budget. So there's some approval needed at that level. Once the projects are approved, then once we've identified the projects that we'd like to bring to you, we'll also be working with the scoping team then to develop what do these projects mean for the strategic direction of this committee. So it's not an all-encompassing strategic vision necessarily, but it's what is the strategic direction of the committee for the next year to 2 years. And that's really important too, because we want to be able to frame these projects as part of kind of a whole strategy. You know, and that can be topically based. It could be housing, for example. It could be demographically based, such as older adults. Just, you know, it could be issue based, such as domestic violence. And so we'll be looking at what makes sense. What are the priorities of you as committee members, and how can we best serve your communities, your agencies, the work that you do through these projects? So when we come to you in February, it'll be, this is a slate of projects that we would recommend for your action, for your consideration. And this is the strategic direction that we can develop on the basis of these projects. And so if you'd like to be part of that review process, please let me know. We'd love to have you involved. We'll be working very closely with the scoping team. And we look forward to that conversation then at that committee meeting to say, are these the projects that you would want to move forward with? And so once all of that is approved, we'll start forming the action teams. And so the action teams are also included in the operational plan. And with the action teams, they're intentionally multidisciplinary, because every issue has more than one facet to it, right? It's never just about housing. It's also about income and demographics, and if there's other ancillary issues. So the action teams will represent kind of all of the different perspectives, the facets, the sectors, the disciplines that are needed to implement that project successfully. And so we'll be implementing those action teams. We do ask if one or more of you would like to serve on an action team, that would be fantastic. Again, we want to make sure that this aligns with your priorities, your interests, and your leadership, your expertise would really benefit the implementation of those action teams. So we'll be looking to you to see which action teams you may want to serve on once those have been identified. So then kind of early spring, we'll be forming those action teams. We'll be launching the projects, and then as those are being implemented, that can be for 1 year, it could be for 2 years, maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's a quick hit. Maybe it's like, hey, you know, we've got this time sensitive thing coming up. We just need everyone, you know, to lean in on this one topic, this one project. So we'll be working with you to establish those timelines. Throughout that timeline, no matter how long or short it is, we'll be tracking those metrics and we'll be coming back to you with regular updates and reports to say, this is what we've done so far. Is this how you envision the project being implemented? And if not, then how can we get it back on track? And maybe that's a mid-course adjustment. Maybe that's reframing a bit of the project. Maybe it's getting additional resources. With this structure, it's very elastic. So if there are projects that we can undertake within our existing capacity, within our existing funding, we are happy to do that. If the projects require a bit more capacity and or resources, and resources are defined broadly, that can be funding, doesn't have to be funding. It could be, for example, working with the Morrison Institute. Hey, you're doing this polling. Can we work with you on that polling? You know, it could be working with other agencies. It could be working with some of your agencies. You know, maybe the ACES-DV, Arizona Coalition to End Sexual and Domestic Violence, or it's a New Leaf, or maybe it's Pulliam Trust. But you know, looking to you as our partners in this, how can we support the implementation of this project, and how can we track the progress? And so we'll be coming back to you with those updates. And the beauty of these action teams is they'll come in, they'll do their work. When they've accomplished their work, then they disband. And then you can do another call for projects. You can say, you know what, this was successful. We've done this. This needs maybe a little bit more time, but maybe a few adjustments. We're going to lean in on this a little bit longer. But whenever you're ready to issue that next call for projects, we have the structure in place. We'll be wanting to evaluate ourselves as well to see if there's any enhancements that we could implement in the next call for projects based on what we learned from this one. So this is something that's brand new. And we really look forward to co-inventing this, shaping this, implementing this with you, and then learning from our experience and being able to enhance it each time. So in this way, we hope that the committee will have ample opportunities to really take action, and that we can together really help to improve people's lives and strengthen communities throughout the region. So that is a timeline for it then.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Regarding the application?
Yes.
Are you available or Hunter available that if people have questions about how to fill it out, if there's information?
Oh, absolutely.
Just so that we don't feel like we're on our own if we're trying to submit a project and
Right.
we're missing a blank or something.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
absolutely. You know, please do contact
thank you.
us. Absolutely. Yeah, we'd love to work with you on that. Excellent. Any other questions about this structure? Anybody online with questions? No? No. Okay, excellent. The rest of these slides, I think that covers the majority of the presentation, really. We do have our project submission template. Again, I had reviewed some of the questions on there. It's an online survey. We want to get enough information to be able to make an informed decision about which projects should move forward or not, but not so much where it's really onerous for people to fill out. So we do strike that balance there. And then these are the criteria that we would be using. So again, regionally based, aligns with our mission, holistic and strength-based. That's really important. Nobody likes to be fixed, you know, like there's something wrong with them. Everyone has strengths and everyone has challenges. So we want to, as we're working on these projects, if we're really attempting to serve a population, we want to tap into their talents too. And so this will be holistic and strength-based. Of course, we are MAG, we are Switzerland. There's no R's or D's, and we recognize that people are, and I's and other things, but these will all be nonpartisan. So how can we just help people, basically? We also want to make sure too that we're not duplicating efforts. Nobody has the time or resources or the patience, frankly, for that. So if there's an effort that's very similar in nature, maybe we can join forces with them. Maybe we can work together. And maybe if we're watching something underway in our community, it's not operating the way that we think it should, instead of just trying to replace it, let's work with them and let's see how we can enhance it in working together. We always want to make sure that our work is data driven. We have a question on the application. What evidence is there to validate your proposal? And if they don't have evidence, then we're going to say, well, are you sure we should be doing this? And if they just don't have it, but it exists, maybe we can find it. But this will be data driven, not just for the call for projects as they're being proposed, but also in the implementation. So we'll be looking to the data, tracking the metrics, making sure that that project is achieving the intended use. To that, we'll have very clear and identified metrics. And of course, that's one of you will be a sponsor. And again, that's not meant to, we understand that you're super busy and we thank you just for the time that you spend with the committee itself. But if you think a project is worthwhile and you don't mind adding or sharing your name with it, then it'd be great. We want to make sure that these projects are aligned with you, with your priorities.
Okay, one more question.
Yes, please.
Is there a cap on how many projects we can have going at one time?
That depends on capacity. It's a great question. Thank you so much for thinking of that and being sensitive to that. That's part of the evaluation that we'll need to undertake. is how many projects can we take on with, given our capacity? It's probably less the number of projects and more so the lift.
Yeah.
If one project is a really heavy lift, but it's really worthwhile and it's where we want to spend all of our time and focus for the next year or so, then yes, let's do it together. If there's 3 or 4 that are kind of lighter lifts and or we have other community partners who can really help take a lead, then we can do more. Particularly with really leveraging our community partners through our action teams. These action teams will be active. It's not an advisory group. We're very intentional with the naming there. We will want the action team members to be rolling up their shirt sleeves and getting involved and helping with the work, undertaking the work. We're here to support, to help drive things, but we can't necessarily do it alone. And so the action teams will be hopefully very involved in this. So as we're forming those teams, we'll let people know, hey, this is what you're signing up for. We're going to be doing this work together, and then just to make sure that they have the capacity for that and that they're willing.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Other input? Okay. Anything online? All right. This item-
Councilmember Hodge Washington.
So yes, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I was going to talk about it as part of the potential future items,
Mhm.
but one of my questions was surrounding the plan or pathways home, a regional action plan. And I was curious to figure out like where we are in terms of implementation. What are things that are outstanding? What are things that maybe needs to be done to move that path forward? For me, I think homelessness and housing is one of the key issues for our community at this time. And just I'm new to the committee, so I don't exactly know what are still outstanding on the plan. I know COVID did throw us for a loop as well, but we continue to see the numbers grow. So I was wondering if there's anywhere I can find that information in terms of making sure that any submission that I align myself with may be something that moves forward that plan. Hopefully all of that made sense.
It does. Thank
Okay.
you so much for asking about that, Councilmember Hodge Washington, Madam Chair, and members of the committee. Thank you so much for asking about that. So as we've been developing this, I was thinking, well, what kind of projects would I like to see come in? And Pathways Home is actually one of those projects. It needs a reboot. It was structured as a 5-year plan that came out. It was approved in December of 2021. So we're getting close to when we would need to be updating it anyway. Plus, there have been conversations. There have actually been requests at Management Committee from city managers saying, hey, can we update this sooner rather than later? Because we're moving in the wrong direction. We wanted to decrease homelessness by 25%, and it's probably increased by that much at least. So we need to be doing something different and probably something more. So yes, would love to see and love to work with you if that's of interest. Yes, absolutely.
So it's definitely of interest, and I just wanted to, I was trying to see if there was any resource or information I could utilize to determine where we currently stand, or would it be just best to maybe set up a one-on-one with you to kind of get that information?
I would, yes and yes. I would love to meet with you. That would be fantastic. I'm so glad that you raised that plan because we worked hard on it, and a lot of really good effort went into it. A lot of good has been done. The Homeless Where It All Starts campaign came out of that plan. So we've done some really good things, and there's a lot more to do. So yes, I'd love to meet with you, and if it's of interest to the full committee, I'm happy to provide an update on that either at the February meeting or we can send out an email with a narrative as well. Particularly where we're sending kind of monthly updates, but we can certainly make that the focus of one of the updates there.
That would be helpful, especially if we're just trying to figure out like where the biggest need is in terms of that plan. I think might be helpful. So thank you for that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm so glad that you remembered it. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, you're good. Thanks. I have nothing further to present. Happy to take any questions. This is on your agenda for action. But if you have any questions before that, I'm happy to take those. Thank you.
All right. If there are no other comments or questions, may I have a motion to approve the process to conduct a fiscal year 2026 call for projects?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. We have a second. And if there are no other comments, we'll go ahead and move on to the vote. So we will take a voice vote of everyone in the room and those online who have turned on their cameras. Those online who do not want or cannot turn on their cameras will have an opportunity to participate in a roll call vote after the voice vote. For those participating in the voice vote, please keep your cameras on until the final vote is made. So all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. All right, Amy, do we need to do a roll call? We're good. All right, the motion passes. Thank you so much, everyone. All right. So we appreciate any help that you can give with the call for projects. This is where we take action. This is where all of us take action. If you or your committee members have any ideas, please apply through the application process. People may be reaching out to you to sponsor projects as well. Feel free to lend your support to any projects you find worthwhile. We are very excited to see what kinds of creative solutions our community comes up with, and we've already had some great ideas here today, so thank you. Also, please feel free to share with the community, the Community Conversation Toolkit with local agencies and community partners that you work with. And our message will have a stronger impact on the community if we implement the strategies provided by the Community Conversation Toolkit. All right. So we're going to move on from here. Do we have a request for any future agenda items? No specific request, but we were talking about the path. So you have that. Okay. All right. The next item is a request for future agenda items, and we already took care of that. So comments from the committee. Do we have time? All right. So this is a time for comments from the committee. Are there any comments from members of this committee that you would like to share with us before the meeting is adjourned? Anything interesting going on in your communities? We are quiet. Yes. Councilmember Hodge Washington. Okay. Okay. Future agenda items. I'm sorry. I called that. I moved past that. So you have a future agenda item?
I was just curious if there is, given right now our current climate is many of our communities are facing a little hardship with some of with the interruption to SNAP services and the like. And I was just curious if there's any suggestions, or I'd like to hear if any other cities or communities are doing anything that we probably should consider as an entire group to help our respective communities going forward. So that was my question. Thank you.
It's a great suggestion, because even if it comes back between now and the next meeting, people are going to be catching up. So there's still going to be concerns. So that's a great suggestion. Amy, would that be okay?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much, Councilmember Hodge Washington and Mayor and sorry, Chair and members of the committee. Just to call your attention, we do have a federal funding and policy update as an information only item in your packet. And in addition to that, I do think having a conversation around that would be fantastic, because communities are all challenged by some of these changes at the federal level, and having a conversation around what each community is doing, I do think would be a fantastic agenda item for February. So we can be sure to add that to it.
And the other thing I would add possibly is also the notice of funding opportunities that have not gone out, and potential impact to our community as a result of that also might be a consideration.
Absolutely. We are studying that very intensely right now. So we'd be happy to share those.
I know. Thank you. So I apologize for my mail
that's
questions
great.
today. But
No, thank you so much. I love the participation. This is wonderful. I was also going to say that if you go to the National League of Cities website, there's a ban on the very, very top of that website that they are closely following all these different departments and the fundings and all those things. So if you go on to that, their link, it's nlc.org, the very top ban you can click on. There's a lot of information. They're keeping daily watch on things that we can follow also. All right. So do we have anything anybody wants to share about their communities before we move on? No? All right. Well, then we will go on. The next item up for agenda is on our agenda is adjournment. So I just want to say thank you for everybody for attending this meeting. Just let you know that next time we have the meeting, it'd be great. The more people we have in the room, the more comfortable the conversation becomes, and it's a great opportunity to get to know everybody. So I understand sometimes you can't make meetings, but we'd love to have you here with us in this meeting today. But thank you again for everybody joining us. We appreciate it. Yes, we're adjourned.
And in-person attendees get stickers.
Yes.
So.